Hi everyone, welcome to my Persian Corner. My name is Panta, and today we have a Persian grammar lesson about this particle ra. So recently I've gotten a few questions about this from people wanting to know exactly when and where we use it, as well as the pronunciation. So what's the difference between ra and ro? So we're going to talk about all of that today. But before we get started, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Below this video is a subscribe button, and next to it there's a little bell that you can also hit, and it'll notify you whenever I release a new video. So there's an option to be notified for all of the videos or just a few of the videos, whatever you like, but I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe. So now let's get started with today's lesson. Okay, so let's look at our Persian grammar of ra. Ra is the accusative or the direct object marker. The direct object, you may know, is just the object of the verb. In English, we don't use such a thing as a direct object marker, but in Persian, we have to use ra. We're going to place ra after the noun that it refers to. And as far as the pronunciation, because this is one of the questions that I got, we have ra, ro, and o. So ra, the particle itself is just re, aleph, 2 letters, ra. And that's the correct way to write it, right? You write ra. In more formal speaking, we also say ra. But in colloquial everyday spoken Persian, it's just ro. And probably more often than not, it's further reduced to just o. But we'll talk about the difference between ro and o and when you're going to use one or the other. I should tell you that regardless of which one you use, it's totally fine. It's not to say that using ra is incorrect or using o instead of ro is correct or incorrect. It's totally fine. It's just a matter of the spoken versus written form and how it comes more naturally when we're speaking. So let's look at a few examples of how we use it in sentences. Here we have kelid ra gum kardam. I lost the key. So what did you lose? The key. So the key is the direct object. So we put ra after the direct object. kelid ra gum kardam. That's the correct written form, the more formal way of speaking, but in everyday spoken Persian, we're going to say kelido gum kardam. So instead of ra, we just say o. Kelido gum kardam. The second example or the second bullet point that I've put in parentheses with the o, simply replacing ra. You might see this in informal writing. So you might come across this in social media, in text messages, something like that. They'll just write kelido. They write exactly the way they speak. But just know that's actually replacing ra. So I just wanted to put all of that there as the first example, but as we move on, I'm just going to be saying o instead of ra. Here's another example. شلوارو فردا پس میدم. I'll return the pants tomorrow. What will you return? The pants. So the pants is a direct object. So را comes after it. شلوارو فردا پس میدم. And remember, را is o in spoken Persian. درو نبند. Don't close the door. درو نبند. ظرفا رو شستم. I washed the dishes. So here ظرفها is our direct object. Ha is the plural marker, but you might know that we don't typically pronounce the H sound, the H. So instead of ظرفها, we say ظرفا. So ظرفا رو شستم. Here I'm saying ro, not o, because that ah sound is a vowel sound. And it's a little bit difficult to say zarfha shostam, right? So to make that liaison a little bit smoother, we're going to now pronounce the re sound in ra. Zarfa ro shostam. Panjera ro beband. Close the window. So again, panjere ends in that eh kind of vowel sound. So it's kind of weird to say panjere o beband. So we add that R to make it a little smoother. Panjera ro beband. Okay, so in those examples, we just saw a simple close the door, I'll return my pants. But the next step to this is that if there are any adjectives or any modifiers or anything like that, ra is going to come after that whole little cluster. Okay, so let's look at some examples of that. In the previous example, we had close the window, panjera beband. But here we have panjere آشپزخونه رو beband. Now we have close the kitchen window, right? So we've added the آشپزخونه in there. پنجره آشپزخونه رو ببند. Again, I'm saying رو, and I'm sure you can guess why. Because آشپزخونه, that e sound at the end, آشپزخونه رو ببند. You could say that, but I feel like the adding the re in there like makes it a little smoother. رستوران سر کوچه رو بستن. Okay, so they closed the restaurant at the end of the street. So that whole little cluster, رستوران سر کوچه, the restaurant at the end of the street, رو بستن. So place رو at the end of all of this. کلید ماشین رو گم کردم. So in our previous example, it was just کلیدو گم کردم. But now it's کلید ماشینو گم کردم. I lost the car key. Okay, so another time we're going to use ra is after proper nouns or possessives. So let's look at some examples here. Kind of building upon the previous example, کلید ماشین پدرمو گم کردم. So now I've lost my father's car key. You know that پدر is father, and then adding the ending am makes it my father. I'll link the video for possessives up here and also in the description. So if you want to do a quick review of that, you can find the video easily. So کلید ماشین پدرمو گم کردم. کتاب تو قرض میدی؟ So again, we have this possessive of your book. کتاب, adding the ending et, کتابت, your book. کتاب تو قرض میدی؟ پاهاتو روی میز نذار. پاهاتو روی میز نذار. Don't put your feet on the table. So پاهاتو, your feet, روی میز نذار. So those were all possessives. But now we have وقتی رفتی اصفهان مسجد جامع رو دیدی؟ وقتی رفتی اصفهان مسجد جامع رو دیدی? When you went to Esfahan, did you see مسجد جامع? So that's a proper noun there. So we're adding the ra. Here's another example. دوست شاهین رو تو مترو دیدم. I saw Shaheen's friend in the metro. So here, Shaheen is our proper noun, right? دوست شاهین رو تو مترو دیدم. Shaheen is a man's name. It's a male name, and it also means falcon. Okay, another time that we use ra is when we're talking about something specific. So kind of going back to the previous examples of possessives and proper nouns, those are kind of specific things too, right? And that's why we use ra. So let's compare these two examples. از کتاب فروشی نزدیک خونم کتاب خریدم. There's no را in this example. از کتاب فروشی نزدیک خونم کتاب خریدم. So here I'm talking very generally. I bought a book or I bought some books from a bookstore near my house. It's very unspecific, right? But the example on the left, از کتاب فروشی نزدیک خونم کتابو خریدم. So now we have کتابو خریدم. So now I'm being specific. Oh no, I bought this book or I bought the book from a bookstore near my house. Let's see another example like that. So the example on the right, فیلم علمی تخیلی دوست دارم. فیلم علمی تخیلی دوست دارم. That's very general. I like science fiction movies in general. But now the example on the left, اون فیلم علمی تخیلی رو دوست دارم. اون فیلم علمی تخیلی رو دوست دارم. I like that science fiction movie, like specifically that one, maybe not others. So رو also indicates something specific. Another thing we want to do is just in general, we have to take the verb into consideration, right? And verbs that are related to senses usually take را. So what are the verbs related to senses? دیدن, to see. شنیدن, to hear. لمس کردن, to touch. چشیدن, to taste. And بو کردن, to smell. So let's look at some examples here. صبح همسایه‌مو دیدم. صبح همسایه‌مو دیدم. So دیدم, I saw my neighbor. صداشو شنیدم. شنیدم, I heard. صداشو شنیدم. دستمو لمس کرد. دستمو لمس کرد. So لمس کرد is touch. He or she touched my hand. خورشو بچش. خورشو بچش. Taste the stew. گلو بو کردی. گلو بو کردی. So using بو کردن to smell. So now let's look at a few of the examples that we had in last week's lesson when we talked about idioms related to parts of the body, because there were a few examples that had ra. I won't talk about all of them, but just to bring a few of them to your attention here. This is one of the examples that we had. من میدونم برادرم لیوان دلخواهم و شکست ولی گردن نمیگیره. So here we have لیوان دلخواهم. He broke my favorite glass. So you can see the possessive form in there, my favorite glass, and را following all of that. Another example we had was بالاخره یه روزی مچشو میگیرم. مچ, we said that مچ was the wrist. مچش را میگیرم. And you can see the possessive form on there. I'll catch his wrist one day. And this just kind of goes along with this idiom. It follows this pattern of مچ کسی را گرفتن, right? Or مچ کسی رو گرفتن. So you're always going to have a رو here. تهرانو مثل کف دستم بلدم. I know Tehran like the back of my hand or the palm of my hand, as we say. So Tehran is our proper noun here. تهرانو مثل کف دستم بلدم. پشت دستم رو داغ میکنم که دیگه با دوست وارد بیزنس نشم. So پشت دستم رو داغ میکنم. You're literally saying I'll, burn the back of my hand. So that's the direct object there. What will you burn? The back of your hand. پشت دستم رو داغ میکنم. داداش کوچیکم رو فرستادم خونه تا یه سر و گوشی به آب بده بفهمه پدر مادرم چقدر ازم عصبانی هستن. So who did you send home? Your little brother. برادر کوچیکم رو فرستادم. There are a few more examples, but I won't go through all of them. Want to, respect your time. But you can go back and visit them if you like. I just wanted to sort of, bring them to your attention that you've seen these before. So that's it for today's lesson. I hope that cleared up some of the questions that you had. And hopefully this video was helpful. If it was, please give it a thumbs up. And again, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. I make these videos in my free time because I really love sharing the Iranian culture and sharing the Persian language with others. So really just a subscribe, a thumbs up is the best way to support this channel, and I really greatly appreciate it. So I will see you guys soon in future lessons, and until then, خداحافظ.